I went to the whatever it's called now, job centre. A lot of people there because of the crashed economy. Feels very similar to now, actually. And she said, "Oh, what work are you looking for? What do you do for a living?" And I went, "Oh, architect." She looked at me and she was like, "Good luck." Basically, like, you are screwed. So, what do we want this video to be about? Do buy quality if you can. Don't borrow money you don't have to get it. Don't let yourself get into debt that, should you lose your job, you cannot afford. Don't follow everyone else into this trap of reliance on money to keep up with looking cool. Think about maybe buying something secondhand, because that's something they haven't had to dig out of the earth. This earth has had enough of us humans digging stuff out of it. Think about maybe learning a little bit about how to fix your stuff, because it's empowering. You're saving money. You're in control. You're saving money. Me and my lovely horse. I'm going to go in because it's too cold. Here we go again. Oh, look at this tiny little hole. Oh, I've got to go through here. Oh. Ta-da! There's my Mini again. Hello, gorgeous. Right, I'm just going to clamp on. Oh, where? While I sort stuff out, I just need to put my gloves on, you see. There we go. Yeah, it is definitely a gloves kind of day. Let's go and find my Audi, shall we? Ooh. Squeeze through here. There it be. See, I've got my rucksack on there now. Pop it on there instead. Okay, so this is the car that I've had since 2006. Let's see if I can remember. Got my little key ring that my mum bought me the first Christmas I bought it. I bought it in, I think, October 2006. There we go. Lovely. The reason its bonnet's up is because I'm currently running a trickle charger. So I'm going to open this up, take this piece of wood, pop it down there. It's nice and lovely, honest. Clamp you on. Oh, there we go. I will remember to reconnect it, don't worry. Oh. I'll switch the lights off inside. I'm going in. Wish me luck. Oh. Now, there we go. Yeah, so this car I had bought in November 2000, October, November or December 2006, after my second child, so my eldest daughter Maisie, was born. we needed a bigger car. We needed a bigger family car. We had the Metro, then we had a Corsa. I didn't need my Mini, so that was parked up here because I was a student. You could walk everywhere most of the time, so that was parked up. Our second daughter came along, and all of a sudden we needed a car that could have a pushchair in it, and my son, and my daughter, and all of our stuff. And if we came back to Norfolk, it just wasn't possible. Yeah, so my wife at the time mentioned, why don't we get a roof box for the Corsa? Well, to which I responded, no, I'd really rather not. I don't really fancy driving around to work in a Corsa with a roof box on it. And I started sort of looking for other car options while I was at work. So I just graduated from Lincoln School of Architecture. I'd done my part 1 of the RIBA, Royal Institute of British Architects qualification. I'd bagged myself a job at the most amazing firm of architects and engineers, at the time Berks Green in Newark. Anyone watching that I worked with there, hello, love you all. And they'd not long been bought out by a much bigger company called RPS Group. So they were RPS Berks Green. I'd been put in the visualization department, not realizing. So when I went for my interview, my director, Graham McMorrin, again, one of a real mentor to me, he was the sort of architecture director and called me into his office for interview, sat me down, put a pad of A3 tracing paper and a couple of fine liners on the desk in front of me, asked me if I wanted a coffee. Yes, please, I would, that'd be very nice. I said, fine, I'll be back in, I can't remember if it was 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but he said, when I get back, I would like to see your sketch of sort of a 3D, you could call it an artist impression. And placed some elevations down on the table and some plans of this building. It was, aircraft hangar, I think for Harrods of Luton. Said, toodle bit, bye-bye. Off he went. Like, oh, okay. Well, come on, get with it. I sat there and hurriedly got to starting to sketch. Managed to pull it off. Didn't realise I had until the first day when I started at work, and I was put in the visualisation team. I think there were 4 of us who started at RPS Berks Green on the same day from the same course. We were all sharing lifts. So we all got in the car at the end of the day, and they weren't in the visualisation team. And I thought it was just like, you go in a team, you swap around, you try a bit of everything. I said, oh, how did you get on? And I was like, oh, it's been great. What about you guys? Oh, well, I've been doing this architectural plan a tiling schedule for some toilets in an industrial unit. And I was thinking, this sounds pretty boring. So next term, kind of, in a few months when it's my turn to go and do that, it's going to be really boring. And surely tilers just lay out their first tile, figure out if it's going to be in the middle or, and just go from there. They don't need an architect to tell them exactly where to put the tiles. And, so the 2 of them had similar days. And then they said, so what were you doing? And I said, well, I've been doing some master plans for some sites, figuring out size of the buildings, how many car parking spaces, and I've been colouring it up in Photoshop, using a bit of SketchUp, the 3D modelling software tool, which I blagged that I could use it. So in my interview, I was like, yeah, Photoshop, yeah, definitely, SketchUp, yeah. And what I used to do in those days was I'd just go on the internet, because everything was pretty lax in those days, and I'd search for a download, either a demo, but normally I won't lie, a dodgy free copy of that bit of software, and I'd learned to use it because back then it was all about inputting a code, and it wasn't connected to the internet. So it was like if you had a serial number, you could share it with your mates. And I taught myself how to use all this stuff. I've never had a day's software tutorial in my life. Anyway, back to the journey home, and they were like, oh, well, God. And it turns out that I'd impressed Graham with the sketching, that he was basically doing that test so that everyone that he interviewed, he could sort of filter them out and go, that guy. And I was that guy. And I was put into that small team. So most teams had 20, 30 people, mainly split 50-50 between architects and engineers, some more than others. And they'd be like client-based. So one would be working purely for this developer, and one would be working on jobs for that developer. Whereas the visualization team were much more sort of upfront, winning the work or showing how the buildings would look, getting it through planning, getting visual impact statements done, making sure that residents in the surrounding neighborhoods could basically accept it and go, okay, it's not going to look quite as terrible with that blue cladding on. There were 5 of us. I was the 5th. Never any more than 5, sometimes just 4. And we had an absolute laugh. Honestly, we called ourselves the A-team just because, not in a arrogant, like, oh, we're better than you kind of way, but when they needed to win some work, they brought out the A-team. Da, 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 ba, ba, ba. Mark Hilton was our sort of line manager. He was brilliant because he just let you experiment, let you get on with what you wanted to do. If it wasn't quite right, he'd give you a little bit of, you know, he was great with a red pen. Ooh, change that. Graham was our sort of director in charge of our team. Da, 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 ba, ba, ba. He took me to a meeting. I hadn't been there long, and we were in his car on the way there, and he just turned and said, so what are we presenting today? So I'm a guy in his early 20s, who's only just graduated from university, and he had so much trust in me that he said, oh, Chris, what are we presenting today, by the way? Oh, da 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 da, ba ba ba. Didn't even think he needed to check it, and you know, he knew that what came out of our team was going to be good enough, and he had trust in every one of us. That in itself is something that I think should drive businesses, whether they're big, like RPS, were an international company, still are, big or small. Trust, belief, talent, encouraging talent, and not hogging the ball, as it were, not doing the Ronaldo kind of thing, just believing in every team member. Anyway, I waffled on. I was at RPS, driving this little Corsa to work, and in my lunch break I thought, oh, I'll just see what's on Auto Trader, just see if there's any other options that's not a Corsa with a roof box. And I came across this car. It was a one-owner car, and it was for sale through Audi dealership in Lincoln. And it's weird because I'm a massive, you can tell I'm a massive fan of classic cars. Yeah, there was something about this car that was like, oh yeah, it was badass. It wasn't an RS6. It's a 2.5 V6 diesel engine, about 180 horsepower, Quattro. I was like, whoa, all-wheel drive, yeah. That's a selling point because that will get us out of, you know, it looked like a car that could get us out of trouble if we wanted to go traveling. Although it's the sport one, so it's lower. It's not like the all-road. And I made an appointment to go and view it, and it was at night. So I make the appointment at Lincoln Audi, and I get in the car. And the guy So I'm seeing all this kind of thing, and he, oh, balls. No, we'll stop that. Oh no. Oh, okay. Wow. I mean, that started incredibly well. Ah, where's the thing that makes my interior light? See, I can't remember. Where's the thing that makes the interior light brighter? Oh. There's little things like, it's stupid, but it's all of this stuff that is just so well made. And I get in the car and, you know, so you don't just have, some heated seats. How and why you ever needed 6 levels of bum heat? It's like, oh, I need 6. Oh, well, someone else, the passenger's like, oh, well, I only need a 4. Why don't you just go maybe 3? I mean, in our Saab, you've got off 1 or 2. It's annoying because I can't remember where. Oh no, maybe. You're a dipshit. I'm sorry. So I'm going to turn that light off. Okay, I'm going to do that again. Let's go back. So it's in the evening. It's dark. It's winter in Lincoln, and I get in the car, and I sit down, and I think I'm in the passenger seat at the time, and I'm with the guy who is taking me for the test drive, and he starts the car, and I just look across, and I'm seeing this. It'll beep again. It'll go through its brake warning and that kind of thing again. But I'm seeing all this stuff and all these beautiful little light details on really beautiful tactile buttons with metal dash fascias. Okay, there's one. Okay, warning me. All of this stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. And I know it's stupid because it's just a load of red lights, but look, there are lights in the door handles. This was 2006. There's a Bose sound system. It had everything I needed and nothing I didn't. So it didn't have the sat nav because I know how to read a map. It would heat my bum. Not a massive thing, but I'd started doing really good work at an architect's practice. And, I didn't want to drive around in a Corsa. I wanted to have something nice for myself and my family. And I could have just gone with a roof box on a Corsa. But knowing that my wife had one car and I had a second car was a big advantage. And I'm going to turn these lights off so we save the battery. Remind me, by the way, to plug the battery back in. Around the same time, somebody went into me. I went into somebody on a roundabout because they pulled out right in front of me. They acknowledged it was their fault. She had a little girl in the car as well, and I deliberately hit made the accident worse because I was heading towards her daughter. On the roundabout, I could see a little girl looking at me like, ah. She came off the phone and went, yeah, I've just spoken to my husband. He said, yeah, typical you, of all the cars you had to go and hit, you had to go and hit, an A6. Like, it was as if it was like you didn't see them very often. My architecture director, Graham, I remember we were in his office, he looked out of his window across the road, and he went, oh, is that yours? I went, yeah, do you like it? He went, yeah, my wife's got one of those and yours is much better. And he's the architectural director that just had a big share payoff from selling the company to a much bigger company. So I felt lucky to be in that position. Now it's just an old Audi. After that crash, I had all the bells and whistles insurance policy, and I borrowed this top spec at the time, the new model. So this is a C5 designation. The one after that, C6? I don't know, it makes sense. Black, the 3-litre diesel, blah, blah, blah. And I remember doing this on the dashboard, and it sounded, I can't find anything that sounds hollow, but this is solid. Now everything is plasticky crap. Costs you a lot more, but plasticky crap. I had all that stuff, and it's making me aware what a bellend. It's making me aware of what an idiot I must sound now, because it's 2022. But all of these, little touches. I've done these. All these little touches. But I was drawn to the quality and the experience, because it was for sale at the Lincoln, the main dealers. They're like, oh, look at the spec here. It used to belong to the one owner before me was the chief mechanic, head mechanic at Audi dealership. He specced everything out, and it had all the bells and whistles. It's been beautifully maintained. We can, it's just little silly experiences like, would you like a coffee from a percolator? Because it didn't even have the Nespressos or anything then. So like, oh, that's delightful. Well, come and sit on our leather sofas. Oh, I know that does sound nice. When I went back and paid for the car, the dealership had bought my wife a bunch of flowers. Like tiny little things for someone who hadn't long been a student and had grown up with, classic cars, never had a sort of new car or, dealership experience. I was all in for it. They even sold me, I don't know, I'm an idiot, but I didn't know this at the time. This is all learning and growing, but they even sold me the 1 year, the 12-month warranty or whatever. And I paid extra money for it, something stupid, £1,000, 1,500 quid, I don't know. And I borrowed money for the car. I think this is why I wanted to do this video first, because it's the first time I borrowed money. Okay, this was the first time my credit score had gone, this guy's got a nice job, because I was getting paid a lot more than any of the other graduates on my course were being paid. So I could afford to pay off the monthly loan repayments. So I go in there, yeah, oh, brilliant, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, we can get you an even better deal on the credit if you borrow with us. Oh, and if you also, you'd also like an Audi credit card. I'm like, well, that'll be bloody useful. Thank you very much. So my wife and I both had Audi credit cards in case of an emergency, that kind of thing. First time I take the car back, which was probably a couple of months after I bought it, for its main service. It might have been longer, but it definitely wasn't a year. It was because it was within the year of the extended warranty. And took the car back, and they come back to me and say, oh, you need new brakes, and so pads and discs, and this and this. I say, oh, is that all covered on the warranty? No, they're service items. So at the time, I'm just going, Okay, I can afford it, fine, put and it would be safer for my family, new brakes, new discs, okay. I paid, I think, £1,200 for the first service, bearing in mind I bought the car, paid extra for the warranty. They'd run through all the checks because it's in the beautiful leather folders that they gave me. You know, oh, this car's safe. And why didn't you notice that the brakes needed sorting? Why did... And looking back, this is where I fall out of love, and I've never been back to a dealership in my life. I've learned how to fix my own cars, to buy a car that actually doesn't work, to fix it, make some money on it, and use it. And if you're interested, we'll cover off the cars themselves in other videos. Underrated, a Saab, a twin turbo diesel. I fix it myself, even if I can't drive anymore. I still fix it for my wife. She loves the cars. They're safe. They're brilliant for the family. Perfect. They're not worth a great deal, which is even better. But this is the first time I'd borrowed money from a bank, from a credit company. That was 2006. I worked another 2 years, so 2008, and I'd started to have big relationship troubles with my first wife, and I'd started experiencing some major we'll just say they're major issues with my mental health. A lot of pressure at work, a lot of pressure in the home, just life no longer feeling connected to it. It's like I was keeping up with my own life, having to keep up. So I think we'd separated at that point. And then was it October 2008? The banks have been misbehaving, the nicest way I can put it. The economy crashes, and nobody wants to build buildings anymore. So, all of those big clients, they didn't stop the plans to actually build the buildings, but they put everything on hold for 6 months, a year, until it sorted itself out. The company that I was working at that had no work. And there's me. I'm in the middle of a massive breakdown. I'm going through my divorce. I'd previously been fine with all my, repayments and everything. And then all of a sudden, because of my breakdown, I'm the kind of the weak link. And my boss at the time, my line manager, Mark, brilliant guy, and you might be watching this one day, Mark. I remember we had an appraisal maybe, or we'd had a discussion, and you said to me, you're like a Formula One racing car. When you get it right, no one can beat you. But if there's one thing that's just slightly off, you can't even take part. You can imagine that scenario, that F1 car that can't. You're not going to send a car out with a sheared bolt. It's only one tiny thing, but you can't run. And when the redundancies were announced, I was one of them. I know my team were upset for me. I remember being on the other side of the road as I walked away from that building for the last time. I was put on garden leave until, or whatever happened. They had tears in their eyes, and I had tears in my eyes, because we'd all just found out whether we were staying or going, and they looked across at me and were like, and my face obviously said it all. I no longer have my job. I am living in a house in Newark by then, and I had some redundancy money, but not much, because I've been there for 2.5 years, I think. And I went to the Dole, whatever it's called now, job centre in Newark. I remember queuing up for ages. And everyone's there, a lot of people there, because of the crashed economy. Feels very similar to now, actually. And when I finally got round to the lady who served me, she sort of sat down to the details, presumably my national insurance number, all that kind of stuff. And she said, "Oh, what work are you looking for? What do you do for a living?" And I went, "Oh, architect." She looked at me and she was like, "Good luck." "Good luck, ducky." Basically, like, you are screwed. I wasn't going into the job centre to find an architecture job. I'm not a moron. I was going in to sign on to get what I believed I needed, to get it all, be official, above board. And then she also said, "Oh, you haven't paid enough stamp since you graduated, so you're not eligible for Outlook. League of Gentlemen, job club or whatever it is." And I'd have to go and use the job machine, the job finder. We got some new machines in, and they're amazing because you type in everything. You don't even have to come and queue up and talk to us. So you stand there and you put your details in, and you go through job machine. I don't know what it's called. Job machine, and it'll help you find a job. But the thing is, it knew who I was, so it knew what all my skills were, and and instead of going, "Oh, but it doesn't matter. Do you fancy going and working on a building site?" Which at the time I'd have been fine with. I wasn't there as some prick going, "Oh, I can't possibly accept that. I drive an Audi." I was screwed because they weren't giving me anything, and the whole time they were saying, "But you're also not eligible for anything." There's me driving around in this car, no money, running up the credit cards because it's all I had to live on. I had nothing. I had 2 children that I needed to pay money to, and I was just running everything up on credit cards. And I then remember one day, because obviously my spending had gone from like spend a little in a month, pay it off the next month, credit card. It actually changed to just be spending and pay off the minimum. Just keep spending, pay off the minimum. And it had been noted, and the banks, because they'd fucked it. They'd screwed it all up for everyone. They were trying to make sure they didn't get any more pain. So they were just clawing in all their debts. Come on, call that in. And they just went, "Oh, we're putting your card on hold. You can't use it anymore, but you can definitely keep paying us back." Didn't help at all with the rest of my breakdown. I just continued to be an absolute mess. At times I was suicidal. I won't lie about that. There were times when I tied a noose around the timbers in the loft and hovered with the rope around my neck over the loft hatch. Or even though we weren't talking at the time, I need to call my parents, and they drove all the way to Newark from Norfolk, just like that. We'd not talked for months and months and months. Didn't even know where I lived. They were there like that. I've slept in this car a lot. And we're I'm going to give you a look. So it's a beautiful car. It was made when Audi really did build things properly. So this car just reminds me of a beautiful thing. I could never get rid of it. But at the same time, it reminds me of almost, it didn't get me into trouble, but it started me off on that slippery slope of borrowing money that you don't have to get something that you see in the distance that you want. It's like a spending habit of want. I should have just got a roof box for the Corsa, shouldn't I? And now I would have done, or I'd have gone, I need to find an old Saab or something like that. And that's my fault. I own that mistake. That's my fault. Still driving around in, effectively, it wasn't like a luxury car, but like just as a designer, I mean, you can see all this. It's just beautiful details. It's all black and silvers, and so ultimately, it's a very architecty kind of car, isn't it? So, what do we want this video to be about? Do buy quality if you can. Don't borrow money you don't have to get it. Don't let yourself get into debt that, should you lose your job, you cannot afford. Don't follow everyone else into this trap of reliance on money to keep up with looking cool. Think about maybe buying something secondhand, because that's something they haven't had to dig out of the earth and make. You're saving something. This earth has had enough of us humans digging stuff out of it and dumping. Just consider using a bit of research and finding something a little older. Talk to people in, these clubs, forums, enthusiasts groups on Facebook, whatever, and find out what is right for you. Think about maybe learning a little bit about how to fix your stuff, because it's empowering. You're in control. You're saving money. Yes, it may take you a little bit of time, or find the people that know how to fix it that aren't a dealership. I would say modern dealerships, I can't say the word on camera. I take my cars now for the jobs that I can't do myself. Kevin and the gang. Ooh. I trust him. He's a small independent garage. He's got everything he needs. He knows how to do everything I need. Ooh, COVID. It's the equivalent, the motoring equivalent of shopping local, isn't it? Support the small businesses nearby you. Share your skills when you learn them. If you want to know anything about a Saab, come and knock on my door and I'll happily show you. If you need to borrow a tool, as long as you're responsible, I will share it. I better get some B-roll for this car. Until the next one. Everything's good. Everything's fine.